Okay, I think we are live once again for another Ask Me Anything about voting and the upcoming elections. So just once again, I'm Nikki Venugopal. I am the voting rights manager for the ACLU of Utah and here with the wonderful Jocelyn to answer questions. And clearly we are Team Yellow today. Over time that we coordinated this.
Yes, we did.
Totally. And I think we've got some questions to get started, but just right off the bat, I will just mention that an update to everybody is that, and fittingly, because we're both wearing bright yellow today, that color is also the color of the t-shirts that our poll monitor volunteers out at the polls on election day and during early voting will be wearing. So you can look out for ACLU of Utah election protection volunteers who are there to be nonpartisan assistance if you need that, if you go to vote in person. But I think we've got some questions, so let's just jump right in and get to those.
Yes, so this week, I'm pretty sure most of Utah was supposed to receive their ballot, but the first question that we have here is, what should I do if I haven't received my ballot?
Super timely question. Yeah, so ballots were mailed by all county clerks on October 13th of this week, so just 2 days ago. And you should have received your ballot in the mail, or it should be coming in the next couple of days. If you don't, next week, then I would call your county clerk immediately. You can go to vote.utah.gov and find a full list of the county clerk's contact information and get in touch with your county clerk as soon as you can, ask them what the deal is and make sure that they help you get your ballot in the mail.
Awesome. And then the next question would be, where can I find drop boxes in polling locations?
Another good question. So that is also going to be at vote.utah.gov. That's kind of your one-stop shop for anything election related. So go to vote.utah.gov. What's really nice is that you can actually put in your information, your name, your address, so the same information that's on your voter registration, and it will pull up, what are your closest drop boxes and polling locations are. And I will also note that, so I think some of us are used to sort of the older model of in-person voting, if that is something that you are, if you're going to do it that way instead of voting by mail, where you had to sort of find your specific precinct's polling place. But this year, every county has vote centers. So you can go to any vote center in your county if you are voting in person. And that you can find those at vote.utah.gov. But I will say we do recommend vote by mail if you can, take it to a drop box, put it in the mail, way easier.
Speaking about voting in person, we've got a question here about voting in person. It says, will voting be safe this year if I need to vote in person?
Totally. So again, like my biggest recommendation is, vote by mail if you can, try to make sure you get your mail ballot, send it back as soon as possible. It's just the easiest, most convenient way to stay safe and vote during a pandemic and make your voice heard. But if you do need to go vote in person this year for any reason, you need disability accommodations or language assistance or any other assistance, or if something's happened to your mail ballot and you need to use that backup in-person voting option, it is going to be safe. Counties are working on, making sure that poll workers have PPE, that people are socially distanced, and making sure that elections run really smoothly and quickly in person, and that there's the least amount of interaction as possible. So that is a backup option, but also you can just avoid that totally by voting by mail.
And actually, follow-up question, if you are voting in person, should you be bringing like an ID of some sort, or what exactly should you bring?
Totally. Yep. So you'll definitely need to bring some ID if you are voting in person. You can find the full list of acceptable ID at vote.utah.gov. But I'll just say that there's sort of like two different categories of ID that you can bring. One is an unexpired or a recent not expired photo ID that's got your name, your current address that you're registered at, and a photo. And for most people, that might be their Utah driver's license. So if you've got that, you're sort of set. But if that doesn't work for you, there's also a second category where you need to bring two pieces of ID, and that's just something that's got your name and your current address that you're registered to vote at. So that might be a bank statement and a utility bill, a pay stub, one of those sorts of documents that's got your name and your address. Again, vote.utah.gov has the full list.
Awesome. Someone's asking here, if I register now, will I still get a ballot in the mail in time to vote?
Good question. Yes. So if you have not registered yet, the deadline to submit your registration to your county clerk to get your mail ballot is October 23rd by 5 p.m. So you can still totally go to vote.utah.gov today, register to vote, and get your ballot in the mail. So if you haven't done that yet, do it right now. You could do it right now today, and you will get a ballot in the mail. Just know that the county clerk needs to receive your voter registration application by 5 p.m. on October 23rd in order to get a mail ballot.
Okay, Linda asks, can prisoners vote? If they can vote, are they getting ballots sent to them?
So this is a good question about voting rights and people who are incarcerated. So in the state of Utah, if you are currently incarcerated for a felony conviction, then you cannot register and vote. However, as soon as you are no longer incarcerated, even if you're on parole or probation, you are automatically eligible to vote again, and all you need to do is re-register. The other thing to remember too is that people who are incarcerated in our county jails for a misdemeanor conviction or are in pretrial detention, so waiting for their day in court, are also eligible to register to vote and vote while in jail. They can talk to jail administration. They'll just need to get that mail. They'll just need to mail in a voter registration form and receive their mail ballot. And if you know of any family, friends, people out there that are having issues with this, they can definitely reach out to the ACLU of Utah. They can also reach out to their county clerk to make sure that they get their ballot.
Awesome. All right, so this one's really important. Can you show us how to track our ballot?
Definitely. So you can track your ballot at vote.utah.gov. So if I go to vote.utah.gov, there's a really easy, like right on the front page, there's a really easy, and maybe I can just share my screen super, super briefly. This is vote.utah.gov. Can you see this, Jocelyn?
Yes, I can see it.
Awesome. So it's this button right here that you're just going to click at vote.utah.gov. You'll just fill in your name, date of birth, and address on your voter registration record and click submit. And you'll be able to see the status of your ballot as soon as you mail it back or put it in a drop box to be counted. So pretty simple and easy.
Awesome. This one's actually my question because I thought it was kind of a dumb question at first, but it could really make a huge difference. What kind of writing utensils should I use to fill in my ballots?
Great question. So ideally, and when you get your mail ballot, there should be instructions included with your ballot on exactly how to fill it out and what type of writing utensils to use. So generally what you're going to want to use is a blue or black ink pen, because most counties sort of have an electronic scanning system, and those like bubbled, something that's bubbled with that darker pen, that dark blue or black pen, is going to make it really clear to that machine where you're trying to bubble. So in Salt Lake County, at least, and folks can reach out to their own county clerk if they've got more questions. But in Salt Lake County, if you use a pencil, it's not going to be automatically disqualified. However, we really highly recommend that you, if you can, that you use a pen, a blue or black pen, because that will just make sure that the machine can pick up where you're bubbling.
Awesome.
And I should also say that usually, for counties, if there's any sort of question, if the machine has any sort of question about what you're bubbling, then, an actual human person, somebody in the clerk's office, a poll worker, the county clerk will come over and actually lay eyes on it to make sure that we're counting everything properly.
Awesome, good to know. All right, so this one says, what happens if I recently changed my signature and it doesn't look like what they would have on file?
Totally. So I think this person is referring to when you send your mail ballot in, you sign the return envelope, and that signature is going to be matched with the signature that the clerk's office has on file with your voter registration record, with your driver's license record. to just make sure that it's you filling out your ballot. So if your signature has changed, you could sort of re-register on a paper form and re-sign that and submit it to the clerk, or you can just call your county clerk. That's what I would really recommend doing. Call your county clerk, ask them what the procedure is and how you can make sure that your signature gets verified and that your ballot gets counted. And then again, if you have any questions about where your ballot is, whether your signature got matched or not matched, track your ballot. Always track your ballot at vote.utah.gov, like I just showed, and you can just double check.
Awesome. All right, Nikki, this one I actually saw all over Instagram this morning, and a lot of people were very freaked out about it, and I think it's important to address. Recently, there's been a lot of fake drop boxes that have been put up in LA, and they were just reported on this morning. So how can someone identify if a drop box is official?
Totally. Yeah. So good question. Thanks for keeping an eye out for sort of issues flying around, Jocelyn, and bringing this up. So this is something that was being reported in LA. So California, not here. We're not seeing this here. We feel very confident in our voting system, our vote by mail system here in Utah. We've done this multiple cycles now here in Utah, so we sort of know how it works and we know that it works well. But if you've ever got any concerns about, is the drop box that you're putting your mail ballot in official, you can go to vote.utah.gov, put in your information, and it will list the exact locations of all those drop boxes. Usually that's going to look like, where I am in Salt Lake County, those are big metal locked boxes. And they've got, it says that it's the official drop box with, Salt Lake County ballot drop box on them. And if you've ever, if you do that, if you go to vote.utah.gov, you find the exact locations of the drop boxes, you go there and you've still got a question, always default to just calling your county clerk and asking. If you've ever feel uncomfortable, call your county clerk and ask. You can also call the election protection hotline, 1-866-OUR-VOTE, OURVOTE. And then another sort of good rule of thumb is that in most counties, your county clerk's office itself, where all those ballots from the drop boxes will be taken to, usually your county clerk's office has a drop box there too. So again, your county clerk is sort of your local expert on how elections are working in your county. So if you've got any questions at all, they can help you.
Awesome. Well, I think that's all the questions that we have, unless anyone else has any last minute ones they want to submit.
Those were some really good questions. While we give it a sec to see if there are any more questions that pop in, I'll just say that I got my ballot in the mail yesterday. I'm very excited to fill it out and vote, and I'm going to do that today and mail it back. So I would encourage everybody, again, if you haven't gotten your mail ballot yet, go check on your mailbox, see if it's there. If it's not by the end of the week, then first thing next week, give your county clerk a call and reach out and see. Jocelyn, have you gotten your ballot in the mail yet?
I do. My permanent address is at my parents' address because this isn't really a permanent apartment for me. So I have to go get it, and then I'm excited to vote.
Totally, yeah. So that's your primary residence, and that's where your mail ballot came to. So that's great. Yay voting. We're going to be, what's the phrase? Oh, October voters. Be an October voter. I totally stole that from somebody. I say that every week, I feel like, and I don't remember who, but it's a great catchphrase.
There is another thing that I saw pop up a lot and I don't know if you would advise this as well, but a lot of people were saying that if you want to make sure that your vote is in on time and it counts and everything was tracked the right way, should you mail in your ballot by the 20th of October?
Yeah, so in Utah, the official deadline for mailing your ballot back is making sure that it's postmarked by November 2nd, the day before the election. If you feel most comfortable getting your ballot mailed by October 20th, I think that's a great rule of thumb, just to be, extra secure, keep it on the top of your mind, just get your ballot back as soon as possible. You do technically have until the 2nd to postmark it, but I would say, if you feel uncomfortable at all, if you've waited that long, if you've, forgotten and you're sort of mailing your mail ballot at the last minute, take it to a drop box, because that sort of cuts out the middleman of the postal service altogether. It'll just get straight to the clerk as long as you put it in a drop box by 8 p.m. on November 3rd. You know that your vote is going to be counted. So a drop box is a great alternative to mailing.
And you don't need a stamp for a drop box at all?
Nope, you don't need a stamp.
Awesome.
And in fact, in all counties, regardless of whether your mail ballot says that the postage is paid on it, the Postal Service in Utah has said that they will never, they'll never not send a ballot back to the county clerk because somebody forgot to put postage on it. It'll always make it back to the county clerk, and then they'll just charge the county clerk for the missing postage on the back end. So if finding a stamp for your ballot is going to prevent you from voting, put your ballot in the mail anyways, or take it to a drop box, and it will get back to your county clerk.
Awesome. Well, it looks like we don't have any more questions for today.
Awesome. Well, hopefully lots of folks have voted already and are feeling good about it and are going to go track their ballots soon. So with that, definitely reach out to us, submit questions. We'll be here again next Thursday, and we'll see you then. Thanks, Jocelyn.
Yeah, no problem. Bye.